Hey everybody, hello. We're in day 2 of this craziness. This is Elizabeth Statlander, marriage and family therapist and mental health counselor here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, doing a daily live to try to help everybody out there with their anxiety and just all the changes that have happened in our country just within the last few days. Life was normal and then boom, it wasn't. And I think it's taken all of us a little bit by surprise, not just being afraid of something to happen to us, but also financially. There's a lot of things to be anxious about these days. And so I'm hoping that doing these live posts every day helps, and we can just answer questions, talk about what's making you anxious and nervous, and talk about dealing with children and all kinds of things like that. So I invite people to write questions. I'm going to try to bring in Tia, my producer, and I guess we're doing what's calling social distancing. So we're not in the same room, although if we could, we would be. But I'm going to try and bring her into this live. It is not working. I cannot, for some reason, do this. Tia, maybe you can check out for me online how to do it, because I'm clicking on your name and it's not working. And it says your viewers, and then I can't click on anything. But okay, while Tia's doing that and trying to figure out, how we can get her involved, I wanted to let everyone know that I was out in Shadyside this morning, and I had to go to Whole Foods to pick up something for myself, and I was really worried about going because I thought, oh my God, it's going to be a madhouse, it's going to be crazy. And I had to go there because there's a particular some supplements that I need, that I like to take, and I thought, oh God, what's it going to be like? And it was actually totally normal. The lines were not crazy at all. The shelves were definitely kind of picked over, but it didn't seem to me to be the dramatic craziness that we keep seeing on all the news stations and all the cable news. It seemed pretty normal. You see a few random people with a mask or something like that. But other than that, it kind of was weird in that it felt normal. So I just thought I'd let people know, if you haven't been out and you're wondering what it's like out there, the traffic's not bad, but because I think a lot of people are staying home, but it's definitely not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So if any of you are gone out yet for groceries, or you're wondering what you're getting into, I think things have really calmed down and people, are definitely not as worried. But, we're in day 2, and, as a mental health counselor and marriage and family therapist, anytime there's a dramatic change, especially when it wasn't really expected or anticipated, it can be very traumatic, and it can be extremely anxiety provoking, again, because we don't know really what's going to happen. I got a letter from a friend of mine, or I should say an email from a friend of mine in New York City, and she said, Elizabeth, do you think you could do a piece on those of us who live in New York City? We have tiny apartments. We're not allowed in our offices. We can't go out anywhere, and we're like going crazy. Do you have any tips or suggestions for what we can do to pass the time? And I thank you for reaching out. So I'm going to do the best I can. And she even said, I try to meditate, but it's not working. It's only going so far. And look, we're only into day 2. We know, at least here in Pennsylvania, that it's going to be probably, our schools are shut down for 2 weeks. Non-essential businesses are shut down. So, we might just have a little bit ways to go. And I've even heard some things on the news that, this might be going on till July. And I think, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. That makes me anxious. So I'm going to not think about that. And I'm going to try and take things day by day, because I think that if we think too far into the future, that's also what makes us super anxious. So let's get back to Erica's question. So Erica asked, how is it in New York City where things are so tight and you can't go anywhere? What can we do? And I think that I don't know if you aren't, but go out for a walk. I mean, go sit outside. I think you have to, like, every hour, just even if you just breathe in some fresh air, walk around the block, get some books, use the technology that we do have to keep in touch with friends and family. But I do think that physically, if you're in a small confined space and you can't go anywhere, I mean, it can be super maddening. So I think the idea is to distract yourself from what's happening and to try to move around. There's some great yoga classes online. There's great workout classes online that you can do even in your small apartment in New York. Not a ton of room to move, but I mean, it's better than just sitting. So I think if you're doing something active, tiring out your body, that might help. And getting into binge watching TV, reading books, staying in contact with friends all over the place. I think that that's probably the best recommendation that I can give you right now. And of course, I don't know what the rules are in New York City exactly. I should look those up, but I don't know. So if you can go out, get out there and walk around the block, walk up and down the street, go for a nice long walk. I think it's important to kind of tire your body out. But thank you and I'm going to think more about that question. I have some people here. Any advice for children who are worried more about their parents' financial situation, not the virus? That's a great question. I have had a lot of my clients expressing more concern over the financial situation than the coronavirus. I have a lot of people terribly concerned, and I'm my heart really goes out to all of us who are small business owners, because everybody's getting shut down and getting absolutely crushed, and I don't know what in the world people are going to do. I think we all have to get really creative, and non-essential businesses are shut down. Restaurants can only do takeout. So if you're relying on feeding your children, paying your bills, this is a very scary time for you, and you're worrying about possibly getting the coronavirus. So there's so many things to be anxious about. The change of our lives that happened in 24, 48 hours, the limited spaces we have to be in, to live in, especially for those of us who don't want to go out anywhere, who choose not to go anywhere, can't go anywhere, and we are being told by government officials to try and just go out the least amount possible, and this is happening all over the world. So I think that children should not have to worry about their parents' finances. They have enough to be kind of freaked out about right now and worried. And as I said yesterday, when I went on live, children have enough stress without anything going wrong in this world. This world brings children enough stress. The last thing that your children should be worrying about, in my humble opinion, is the finances, because you don't want them to get worried that they're not going to be able to eat, or the lights aren't going to stay on, or anything like that. So if your children come to you with these concerns, I would simply say to them, Mom and Dad, we have this, or whoever's in charge, mom, dad, grandfathers, grandmothers, whoever's in charge of the kids, hey, don't worry, we have it under control, and we are taking care of you. You have nothing to worry about. Whatever it is, we'll stay together and we'll make it. And children shouldn't even be thinking about finances. Parents, we have to think, adults, we all have to think about finances, because that's just the reality of the situation. What I did hear earlier today, although nothing's been definitive, is that President Trump and his administration are trying to figure out a way to disperse $1,000 to everybody in the country. But there is some financial qualification. If you make above a certain amount, you're not qualified for that $1,000. And he's looking to do some sort of special relief for small businesses who desperately need it because they have no income right now. And small businesses, they have payroll, they have staff. I mean, it's just a huge domino effect for the financial shutdown, and the market's crashing, and it's just not a great picture. And it's the last thing your kids should be worried about. So I was saying yesterday, I think we should be careful about what we're saying in front of the kids. Children do not have the coping skills that adults have, and they can really start fantasizing in a really scary way. So I think you want to choose your words very carefully and just keep continuing to reassure your children that they're safe, that the American government is trying to step in and do what they can. I believe Mnuchin, who is the Secretary of Treasury for the United States, is talking about a 3 or 4 month delay in federal taxes, paying our federal taxes. So that should really take some concerns off of people, that you won't have to pay this huge chunk of money for taxes. Hello, Franco in Italy is watching. How are you? Okay, so let's see. I had a question. Okay, I'm going to try and bring my producer Tia in. She's in Squirrel Hill, and see what's going on her end. But again, I cannot do that. I'm sorry, Tia. It's just not working. So if anyone has any questions out there about how to deal with their own anxiety, how to deal with their children's anxiety, write it on the screen and let me know. Let me know what's going on in your neighborhoods. Have you been out? What's going on with your financial situation? What are you most anxious about? A lot of children that I've been talking to here in the office have been, really spooked about their parents getting coronavirus. And all they hear on the news constantly is doom and gloom and a lot of scariness. And they are now having nightmares and, walking around anxious at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, which they shouldn't have to be, but this is the times we're in. And so what can we as adults do for them in this time? And I think that as adults, we have to stand strong. I think we have to be calm. We have to utilize logic over emotion. If you watched yesterday, we talked about how when change happens suddenly, when your resources are suddenly cut off for life, for social interaction, that's traumatic. That's going to create a lot of anxiety. And anxiety is extremely contagious. And some psychiatrists who are very well researched say that anxiety spreads like a virus in the household. So anxious parents make anxious children. So while it's hard not to be anxious right now, because none of us really know what's coming down the pipe, we have to try at least and be a pillar of strength for our children. And then maybe once they're sleeping, we can go and cry or scream or I don't know, whatever we have to do to get our anxiety out. Being physically active right now is, I think, a good key to dealing with your anxiety. The weather's miserable here as usual in Pittsburgh, but even if you can just walk around the block, get some fresh air and come back, or do physical activities. There's a lot of great yoga classes online. Yoga is wonderful for anxiety. There's a lot of things, a lot of exercise classes. You can do some good old push-ups and sit-ups and anything just to get yourself moving. It's very important. Can you explain a little more about social distancing? I did yoga today for the first time and it really helped calm me. Okay, so what is social distancing? Well, I probably know as much as any of you watching, but social distancing means that we're supposed to be within 6 feet of each other. And when we're out socializing, if we choose to go out and socialize on some level, we're not supposed to congregate with more than 10 people at a time. Because obviously the more people that you're around, the higher chances you have of getting exposed to the coronavirus, and you don't know where people have been, who they maybe have been in contact with. And the one thing that's kind of, from what I understand, it's kind of different about the coronavirus compared to, let's say, the flu, which may have actually some worse symptomology, is that it's twice as contagious. So it's very easy to catch. So I think Pennsylvania, our numbers are still very low. And I think that our country jumped on this just at the right time to keep us distant from each other. So any gathering places, like that's why they're shutting down restaurants and they're shutting down businesses, salons, gyms. I mean, gyms are, unfortunately, it's one of my favorite places to go, but very difficult to avoid getting germs in a gym because people are sweating and they're touching everything. So the government said, okay, we need to keep people distant from each other by shutting down public places where a lot of people congregate. I don't know. I'm curious about churches and synagogues. I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know if that's considered essential, non-essential. I have no idea. Temples, I don't know. I'm guessing that they're probably not going to gather this week. Again, I don't know, because that's a place where many people congregate, and possibly it wouldn't surprise me if synagogues and churches did online services this week. Would not surprise me, and maybe next week, because this is a time where I think people probably are yearning for a message of hope. So the social distancing changes a lot of things. I think that even when I have people come in the office, I am allowed to work because I'm considered essential as a healthcare provider, but I only have one person in at a time or two people at a time, and I make sure that I spray down all the door handles, things to keep everybody safe. But I don't have a huge amount of people in and out like a church or a synagogue or a doctor's office. Doctor's offices are not supposed to have people congregating in their waiting room. So people are supposed to wait outside the office or in their cars, get a number, and only come to the doctor under emergency circumstances. So all of that social distancing is basically, I think, the country's strategy for keeping us away from each other, cutting down the chances of us coming into contact with people who could potentially be infected. And I think it's sad because we need social interaction. We need to go to the gym. We need to move our bodies. We need to, live, and we're not really allowed to live the way we're used to. And so it is just creating so much anxiety. Somebody asked me, and again, I'm not a medical doctor, but I do try to take very good care of myself. And so a lot of the things that the news, you see on the news, aside from a lot of drama that's needless, but some good important details as well, is, keeping your immune system up. I don't hear a lot of people talking about that. And again, I'm not a medical doctor, but I try to take very good care of my immune system. So I'm drinking lots of juices. I have these shots that are supposed to be like half of your fruits and vegetables per day. I drink a couple of these. Maybe eat a little more than usual. Keep your immune system going. A little bit of light exercise does help your immune system. And eating well, eating the right foods. I had one friend call me last night and she said, I think I'm going to be 400 pounds by the time this is over because I'm just eating everything. So I'm sure a lot of people stuck in the house want to nosh on cookies and candy, and it calms the nerves to eat. So I would say be careful with that. You have a choice of what food you bring into the house, and especially if you're trying to stay extra healthy and build up your immune system, eat your fruits and veggies. Take supplements if you don't like them. Try to eat, healthy and clean and keep that immune system up. Get your sleep. I'm hearing more on the news about staying away from everybody. Don't go anywhere. And, we don't really have a big choice right now. But I think there's a lot of other things that we can do health-wise. And I'm going to try and get a doctor to come on one of my lives this week to talk to us. And and really give us like some good medical advice. I did bump into one of my physicians today when I was in Shadyside, and I said, hey, what do you make of all this? And she said, well, I think it's not nearly as big of a deal as people are making it. However, because it's worldwide, it's something really different, and it's something we've never seen before. So of course there's going to be panic and anxiety. So to that point, how can we keep ourselves from being anxious? Largely the same way we keep from being unhealthy. Closed for mass okay, so I guess churches are closed. My producer, who I cannot unfortunately bring into this conversation, thank you, Tia, we miss you here, said that churches are closed until further notice. And my guess would be that the synagogues, there's a Hindu temple out in Monroeville. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to make phone calls and find out. People have to call if that's something that you do. You can't go out to any of your exercise classes, so use the outside. I mean, I don't know. I don't think walking outside is bad. I mean, I think if you're just by yourself or with your kids and you're walking around the block, I think it's healthy to get some fresh air. Again, not a medical doctor, so you don't have to take my advice, but just trying to do things that make sense. What do we have going on here? You did yoga for the first time. Yes, yoga is a great way to stretch the body, keep it moving. And I want to talk more about the anxiety piece. Are people out there panicking? Are you having panic attacks? Are you having anxiety attacks? And if you are, I want to hear about it because I want to try and help you through that. When we get anxious, we usually get anxious in reaction to something that we're thinking about. So a lot of times, believe it or not, our own thoughts can cause our body to react as though we were actually in physical danger. So what that means is if you are picturing yourself without a salary or money coming in, then you're going to go to think, oh my God, how am I going to pay my bills? Oh my God, how am I going to pay for food? Oh my God, how am I going to take care of my children? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And your mind creates these negative thoughts that then increase your heart rate because your brain and body are interpreting that you're in danger, and you're going to have a panic attack. That's how it works. So the more nervous thoughts you have, the more panicked you are, the more you are going to continue to be experiencing panic attacks. The heart rate's up. You're going to get sweaty. You're going to get irritable. You're going to get moody. So try to write down all of your negative thoughts on a piece of paper, and then next to them, write all the reasons that those thoughts are irrational. Try to keep up with the CDC as they put out the factual information. Keep the news in the house to a minimum because that will freak anybody out. Try to get out in your communities, whether it's via social media, whether it's just doing house checks in your neighborhood, especially if you know if there's any elderly people there, any sick people who might need you to get them food, to run errands for them, pick up their medications. Call them up if you don't want to go over. Knock on their door, leave a note, run away if you're really that concerned. But I think there's things that we can be doing to help each other that will then make us feel a part of something, and we won't feel as anxious. So I think the more we get involved in helping other people, the less anxious we're going to become. The more that we keep the tone of the house normal, the more that we are going to keep our children's anxiety down. Very, very important, because remember, anxiety feeds on itself. So anxiety brings more anxiety, brings more anxiety. Something else that, wait a second, how do I know if I'm having a panic attack? Okay. If you're having a panic attack, probably the first thing you're going to notice is that your heart rate is going to increase. That's always the first thing that happens. Once your heart rate is increased, then all the blood starts flowing through your body more quickly, and you feel as though you need to fight or fly out of wherever you are. And so if you have this feeling of, oh my God, my heart's beating, my palms are sweaty, I feel like I can't breathe, all of those things are signs of panic attacks. And we have that mechanism in our brain so that we know when to get away from danger. But when we're thinking up the danger in our head and we're creating an actual dangerous fantasy because it's not actually happening, our bodies, our brains, our hearts react just the same way. So those are times where you want to try and sit in a quiet room, do some deep breathing, call a friend, and, you can call me. I am open for business. I'm willing to do phone sessions, 30-minute, 60-minute, 90-minute phone sessions with, anybody who needs to talk. I'm trying to do these live snippets every day to give people some free therapy, a free outlet to talk and discuss how they're feeling, what's going on in their house. Before I finish up here, I want to just say a few things about family relationships, because when people are confined to a certain area or confined to a certain space, they tend to fight sometimes, and domestic violence rates tend to go up in these situations. So if you see that you're getting irritable, maybe you and your husband are snapping at each other, you and your kids are snapping at each other, take a break. Just say, you know what, I just need a minute to myself, 2 minutes. Deep breathe, walk into another room, collect yourself, and remember there's a much bigger problem at hand than anything that you could possibly be fighting about, okay? Right now it's all about being safe, getting through a really difficult time as a country, as a community, and this is not the time for that. Keep the alcohol to a minimum. I was watching people just storm out of the liquor store yesterday with unbelievable amounts of alcohol. Alcohol causes fighting, which can lead to domestic abuse. So keep the alcohol to a minimum, stay healthy, eat right, sleep, breathe, and tune into these half-hour podcasts every day. You can always reach me at my office, 412-376-7322. I'm here for anyone that needs to talk. You can also message me. And as I said yesterday, if you're really bored and you have nothing to do, you can go to my Facebook page or my YouTube page and watch a bunch of videos on relationships and therapy and psychology, and maybe you'll like it. Who knows? But try to keep your spirits up. I will be back here tomorrow at noon, and I am looking forward to seeing everybody then. Take care, and thank you for watching.